What's the matter?
随分と薩摩の兵を切ってくれたようだな。
Fuck!
風間千景
Why is the bitch here? The last time they met, Kazuma had handily beaten Souma in a battle. Both Souma and I tensed upon the sight of this demon approaching us. You're working with the Satsuma. Have you come to help them?
このムクロどもが仲間だと。くだらんな。今日ここに来たのは別件だ。だが、ここで我が伴侶と出会うのも典型というものか。俺と共に来い。滅びの道を歩むそいつらと共にいる理由もあるまい。
I've told you before, I will never go with you.
そうだ、先輩は俺たちが守る。
守るだと、そのざまでか。
Souma attempted to lunge forward, but his body was too exhausted to move an inch. Instead, his muscles gave way and he collapsed on top of the stony cold ground. Oh, now we use the word ground. What are you? I tried to help Souma from falling, and I tried to unsheath my kodachi.
遅い。
Before I could withdraw my sword, he knocked the wind out of me and I fell to the ground.
おとなしくしている。しつけが必要ならためらうほど温厚ではない。
He glared at me on the floor. We're back to floor. He glared at me on the ground. Then Kazuma reached his hand towards Souma.
まがいものの鬼の力を手に入れて調子に乗っていたようだが、このざまでよく言えたものだな。守るなどと。
Help, I'm getting flashbacks to Ibuki. This just makes me think of that once when Serizawa found Ibuki. Oh god.
何度でも言ってやるさ。先輩を守るのは俺の使命だ。
守ると吠えるだけならば犬でもできる。だが力がなければどんな思想も貫けぬ。今のお前もそして幕府もな。守るだと笑わせるな。貴様では守ることすらできぬ。
Kazuma continued to fling Souma back and forth on the ground, and Souma coughed blood. However, his eyes still burned with determination.
それでも俺は。
どうやら根性だけはあるようだな。おい、幕府の犬。貴様にもう一度だけ質問してやる。今この場でこの女を守り抜くと誓えるか。
当たり前だ。
ならば番犬の代わり程
Cosmo suddenly cut his sentence short, and he stood up after shoving Souma to the ground. He swung his sword brutally, deflecting another blade from the corner of his eye. Who is it? That's...
何者だ
Oh god! Yamazaki! Inoue!
雪村君まだ相馬君の息はあるな
He still is.
だったら彼を連れて逃げなさい。ここは私たちが引き受けよう。
No! Oh, my heart every time, damn it, no! I know what time it is. I don't want to live it again! Ah! I gotta suffer all the way for the rest of these routes. No, I'll stay and fight too. If Souma can move, then we can all get through the...
バカなやつらだ。わざわざ死にに来るとはな。その傷ではいくらも持つまいに、自らの墓標をここと定めたか。
Cosmo's cold, monotone voice sent a chill through me, and I gasped as I looked at Yamazaki. Red droplets were bleeding through his clothes. Both he and Inoue had blood dripping beneath their feet, collecting into thick red puddles. You two... Your wounds...
包囲を突破するとき少し無理をしすぎたらしい。
ここまで必死に逃げてはきたが、風間の言う通りだよ。もう長くはないだろう。
Not the both of you! Oh my god! You two! What? No! That's not true! Don't listen to him! If I tend to it now, maybe I can... Cosmo cut me off and he moved to strike Yamazaki. Not the best boy, you fucking bastard! As Cosmo deflected Yamazaki's blade and struck him, blood was rushing under his skin, even though the flesh hadn't been cut deeply.
勇んで助けに来たはいいが、所詮は無駄なあがきだ。
無駄ではないさ。ここで私たちが死んだとしても、その思いを背負ってくれる者がいる。
雪村君、相馬君。
Inoue and Yamazaki shot a glance at me. I had known them long enough to know what their expressions meant. Because I'd been with them after all these years.
先輩。
We'll leave for now. I let Souma on my shoulders, and we had gotten up. We need to survive no matter what. To tell the others of what had happened here, to not let their sacrifice go in vain.
どの道放っておいても、四半時もすれば屍に化ける身だ。死ぬまで付き合ってもらうぞ。風間千景!
As Souma and I left to flee the scene, Souma turned one last time to see them.
すみません、井上さん。すみません、山崎さん。すみません、雪村先輩。俺、守れなかった。何も守れなかった。
All we could do was limp away. watching our two comrades meet certain doom in their last stands against Kazuma. Souma and I shared a quiet journey to Osaka Castle, neither of us speaking at all. I felt like if I opened my mouth, a flurry of uninhabited emotions would come rushing out, unleashing all of my thoughts onto Souma. From time to time, Souma would grip his fist to keep his hand from shaking, and he seemed so frustrated at himself. I struggled to find anything that could comfort him, so all I could do was slowly drag my feet behind as he led me down the mountain path. I wondered what would become of us. All we could do now was pray for the safety of the friends we left behind and continue walking. As we lingered down this dusty, gloomy path, we had finally made it to Osaka Castle around the middle of the afternoon.
お前、相馬！それに、雪村先輩じゃねえか！野村に、斉藤さん！お前ら生きてたのかよ！たく、心配かけさせやがって！二人ともよく無事で戻った。他の大使たちも喜ぶだろう。
Thank you. I'm happy to see you are all safe as well. We had only been separated for a short while, but it seemed like years since we last seen each other. Saito had caught onto the side of me tearing up, and his expression softened. Oh no. How is everyone else?
到着した順に順次休息をとっている。俺たちは早くたどり着いたので、今は警護に当たっているところだ。各地の戦況の方は？はっきり言って悪い知らせしかねえよ。伏見奉行所だけじゃなく、そこかしこで敵に押されて撤退が始まってる。陽土城が裏切ったって話もあるし、大使は怪我人ばっかと来た。正直このまま攻められたら長くは持たねえだろうな。何を言ってるんだ、お前らしくもないことを。難攻不落で知られるこの大坂城なら十分に敵の攻撃に持ちこたえられる。俺たちがこの城にこもる限り薩長軍も容易に手は出せないはずだ。いや、それは。
After we pressed Nomura for a response with our eyes, he just looked down awkwardly. Did something happen? We were indignant to hear, but Saito looked at us nervously, offering an answer in Nomura's stead.
待て、詳しい話は後だ。広間に副長がいる。まずは無事を報告してくるといい。
As Saito had said, Hijikata-san was sitting alone in the common room, and as our eyes met, his face brightened and he rejoiced to see we had returned safely. Since Souma had asked me to keep it a secret, we avoided the subject of him drinking the water of life AGAIN! We had given Hijikata-san the gist of what happened. How Miki had defected to the Sacho, how blood had been spilt, and how he'd escaped. We explained how Chikage Kazuma had made an appearance, and Hijikata-san's brow furrowed as we told him about Yamazaki and Inoue's sacrifices. As we finished giving Hijikata-san a report, he seemed to be taking in all the truth as we related it to him, and for a moment, he sat still. At our conclusion, he offered a curt nod. Then he looked up and disclosed news that shocked us incredibly. We aren't going to stay in the castle?
それはどういうことですか？
どうもこうもあるか。今言った通り、 そのままの意味だ。お偉いさんは籠城をしてまでここを守って戦う気なんてないんだとよ。何しろ総大将御自らすでに江戸にお立ちになったそうだからな。
まさか慶喜公が他の者を置いて先に逃げ出したと言うんですか？
Soma's words may have seemed disrespectful or out of line, but Hijikata-san didn't scold him. He couldn't necessarily agree with Soma's words. Intrinsically. Okay, intrinsically. But I knew that Hijikata-san was feeling the same sense of anger, although he suppressed it. Who would have thought the person who was charged with leading the shogunate would leave? Souma balled his hands into a tight fist once again, and without holding back, began punching the door.
くそくそ、なんでだ、なんで敵と戦いもせずこの城を明け渡すなんて。これじゃ幕府が負けたと宣言してるようなものじゃないか。
やめろ相馬、俺たちはまだ負けたわけじゃねえ。
ですがこの状況ではもうどう考えたって。
確かに今回は俺たちの負けだろうさ。この戦いは薩長軍の方が上手だった。そこは認めるしかねえ。だがたかが一回の負けがなんだ。どんな名将だって百戦して百勝ってわけにはいかねえだろ。
Souma, who had clearly been lashing out, slowly began to widen his eyes. Hijikata-san moved closer to Souma, patting him lightly on the shoulder and speaking calmly.
いいか、覚えとけ、相馬。本当の負けってのはな、戦に敗北したことを言うんじゃねえ。心が折れて諦めた時を言うんだ。だから俺は絶対に諦めねえぞ。敗北を味わおうが傷つこうが仲間を失おうが、刀が折れていっぱい血にまみれても泥をすすってでも戦い抜く。それが俺たち新選組だ。
泥をすすってでも。
Souma stared at his bruised, bleeding fists as he took heed of Hijikata-san's words. I was witnessing an intimate moment, the passing of the torch from the present to the future. Souma had been forced to drink the water of life, but he wasn't going to give up. The fire in Souma's eyes also burned in Hijikata-san's.
どうした高家と顔して。まだふぬけたことを言い出す気か。
いえ、むしろ逆です。
Souma bowed his head deeply, then looked outside the window at the vast sky.
実は召集征伐の時も似たような状況がありました。
When you were in the shogunate army?
はい、あの戦で長州に圧倒的な敗北を喫した後、幕軍の者たちはまるで艶のようでした。幕府はもう終わりだ、これ以上戦っても仕方ない。敗北を知った者たちは誰もが諦めて膝をついていた。だけどここは違う。土方副長たちはまだ戦う気でいる。戦って最後には勝つ気でいる。
当然だ。一部の連中は 俺たちのことを随分過大評価してるみてえだが、もともと俺たち新選組は武士でもないとこからのし上がった連中だからな。上品に勝とうなんざ思ってもいねえ。負けても負けても食らいつく泥臭さの方がむしろしっくりきちまうんだよ。
Ichikata-san never usually joked around like this, and from it, I felt myself relax a little.
相馬、雪村、お前らにもまだ働いてもらう。ついてくる覚悟はあるな。
はい。
Of course!
よし。江戸に帰ったら戦のやり直しだ。
After our meeting, things began progressing quickly. Seeing as how fighting without our political leader could have been a march to the death, the remaining shogunate men retreated to Edo by ship. While aboard our ship en route to Edo, I had woken quite early in the morning, and I went to the dock to view the rising sun over the horizon. We're finally returning to Edo. I watched the cold, wintry sky above me. It had been 4 years since I had last seen the pleasant sky of Edo. I had visited Kyoto with the hopes of finding my father and then returning immediately. 4 whole years flew by. Now here I am, returning to Edo alongside the Shinsengumi and joining them in their fight for their future. I couldn't have imagined this 4 years ago.
それは俺も同じです。
A voice came from behind, its tone in gentle harmony with the waves crashing all around us. I was surprised to see whom it came from.
俺も4年前はまだ笠間藩士で自分を殺して藩に使い続けていました。それが今や新選組の大使としてこうしてあなたと一緒にいる。きっと新選組との出会いが俺の人生を変えてくれたんだと思います。
Souma stood beside me, the wind jostling his hair. He got me through the most painful moment of my life.
雪村先輩、おはようございます。
The sun's rising pretty quickly, isn't it? How has your body felt? Souma had become a fury, which meant a human's day was the fury's night, and the fury's day was the human's night. If anything, Heisuke said about it held any weight, then sunlight should have been painful for Souma to stay in.
昼夜逆転の話なら大丈夫です。少し目を閉じて休んでいましたから。それより江戸に着いたらまた戦いが始まりますね。
Does it scare you? I asked Souma, who let out a big sigh. He shared with me a tender smile, and he shook his head slightly as he spoke.
むしろ嬉しいんです。まだ戦う気持ちを持った仲間が周りにいてくれることが。市中では口差がのない者がこう言います。武士の世はもう終わったのだと。生涯をかけて剣の道を磨いてきた武士が昨日小銃を持った百姓に太刀打ちできず撃たれて命を落としてしまう。 そんな世の中では武士など何の意味もないと。
Who can know? Was it really so?
だけど先日の土方副長の言葉で確信しました。俺たち新選組がいる限り武士という存在がついえることはない。今ならそう言い切れます。
I agree. After we shared our thoughts, we gazed into one another's eyes, basking in the beauty of the wondrous view of the sky meeting the sea. As the sky reflected into the vast ocean, the horizon blurred itself amongst the marine layer. The waves moved the colors into each other. As I stared into the infinity of the world sitting, I was only sure of one thing: the warmth of Souma's soft shoulder resting against mine.
でも俺はきっと今のままじゃダメだと思うんです。
What do you mean by that?
幹を倒すだけの力があってもあの風間には全く歯が立たなかった。奴の言葉は胸に刺さりました。守ると叫んだところでそれを貫く力がなければ意味がない。今のままじゃ俺たちを助けるために命を落とした山崎さんや井上さんにも申し訳が立たない。だから俺はもっと強くなりたいと思うんです。
Souma had taken the water of life, that cursed serum, and had already become so strong. Yet here he was, still in search of power, in order to uphold the values he cherishes. And I'm sure, for the sake of my protection. His sentiment somehow filled me with so much warmth, and yet so much guilt all at once. I placed my hand over my chest, gripping it tightly as I stayed quiet. Then I changed the subject. Souma, shouldn't you get some rest? Isn't being out here hard for you? I don't think you've slept much lately. One day, we'll need to tell Hijikata-san the truth, and have him allow you to rest during the day. Souma didn't respond immediately. He closed his eyes instead, locking himself into deep concentration, and he responded slowly.
雪村先輩、俺が落ち水を飲んだことはまだ誰にも言っていませんよね。
No, I haven't. You asked me not to, Souma.
ならお願いします。そのままその話は伏せておいてください。
Why? Even if everyone hadn't known yet, it wasn't something that could be hidden forever.
俺も本来だったら羅刹隊に入って昼に眠る生活が正しいとは思います。だけどそれではいざという時隊の役に立てない。それに
He paused for a moment, slowly bringing himself to a seated position upon the deck. I sat down with him, and Souma turned to face away from me.
その昼に眠くなるのは事実ですが、今後こうして雪村先輩と同じ朝焼けが見られなくなるのは悔しいと思うんです。
Upset?
だってそうじゃないですか。
Soma's voice drew me in, its warm tenor engulfing me with each word he spoke.
あなたが眠る時間に起きて、あなたが起きる時間に眠る。満足に話せるのがこの昼でもなく夜でもないわずかな間だけ。
Soma brought his head closer to mine, almost placing his lips right outside of my ear.
それはきっととても寂しいことだから。
His heavy weight slowly fell onto my shoulders. The warmth of his skin made my heart skip. Soma? Soma? He fell asleep. He fell asleep! He must be exhausted. He's fast asleep. This is too cute of a CG. This is too cute. I can't. His light breath tickled my cheeks in rhythm. At first, I panicked, hoping he was okay. But what I saw was his adorable face, comfortably resting. I had imagined that maybe his lips would actually come to touch my cheeks. All willingness to go inside had vanished. Guess I can't really blame you. You fought so hard to protect me during all that happened. Even as we were fleeing from the magistrate, even as I sleep, I know you're watching over me. Words cannot express my gratitude for you. Seriously. I reached my hand out to him, and I grazed his with mine lightly, so as to not disturb him. Although he had become a fury, somehow his hand had retained its warmth. This was proof that this really was Souma sitting beside me.
Yukimura senpai.
Souma's hands had slowly crept up, as if he was searching for someone to embrace in his sleep. I softly clasped both my hands around his, and I whispered to him so he didn't wake up. It's all right. I'm here. Surely, war hadn't been waiting for us again, and war had been waiting for us again in Edo. And again, he will do everything in his power to protect me. So for now, at least. Rest your head, my dear.
俺もっと強くなりますから。あなたをいつまでも守れるくらい。
January 1868. The Battle of Toba Fushimi ended with the Satsuma Choshu victorious. As the shogunate troops retreated, the Shinsengumi headed towards Edo. 4 years ago, I came to Kyoto all by myself in search for my father and met the Shinsengumi. I'm going to leave the city of Kyoto, where I made fond memories with the Shinsengumi. In battle, he became a fury to protect me, and I have chosen to walk alongside him. We are going to head to Edo, without knowing what fate awaits us. I've reached the end.